All right. Good afternoon. I just start out and just talk a little bit about the game from the other night. Obviously a tough loss for us. Very disappointed in that, and I felt we had control of that game. And you go back and watch the film, and we had very good control of the game. And I think obviously I talked about it at the end of the game. It was a big play on that 2nd and 14 when they hit the post, and because I felt like at that point, I think they had an O-lineman get hurt on that play. 2nd and 14, we got a lot of momentum, and let's stop them right here. We can take control of this game for good. And they hit the big play and got right back in it. And I think our kids played hard the whole game. They didn't lay down, just continued to play. Just too many mistakes. Offensively, turnovers. I think were the big thing for us in the red zone there. At least come away with some 3 points that you feel like. And then we fumbled there on around midfield trying to drive. And then defensively, it's just the big plays. I think the big plays is really what killed us. Coming into the game, Florida State only had 3 negative plays. And then I think we sacked them 4 times and had 10 tackles for loss. So really got after them in that regard. It's just the big plays that really hurt us in that game. Obviously got to come back strong this week. We still early in the season. You got a South Florida team coming in here that is a really good football team. Had Florida on the ropes. If anybody watched that game, really had an opportunity to win that game against Florida through interception late in the game. And then Florida goes and scores and takes the lead. And then South Florida is driving all the way down, has a bad snap, knocks them a little bit back in field goal range, and then muffed the field goal, but still almost made it to go into overtime. But Coach Scott, I've known him for a while down at USF, and he was at Clemson for many years and does a great job. They've got a bunch of transfers in there. Kids are playing hard. I think 19 starters back from last year. A much better football team, I think, than what it was the last 2 years. So again, a big game for us this week. Play Saturday. We got a normal schedule, normal routine this week, and Saturday at noon. Need everybody to come out. It needs to be a great crowd, a good home field advantage for us again. So open up with the questions.
Scott, you said big game this week. I know every game is important, but with what you've got coming up this second half of the season, does it make these next 3 even more important?
They're all important. Every single one of them are important. Yeah, I mean, we knew coming in we got a tough schedule. And the first 3 opponents are 8-1. You mentioned the last 6. I don't think anybody's lost. And so it's a tough schedule. But every game you got to get ready to prepare for that specific game. We can't dwell on anything in the past. You have to learn from the past, but we have to focus on where we're at right now in this South Florida. And not worried about anything past that. Everything this week is on South Florida. We've spent the last 3 days up here, evaluating ourselves, after the first 3 games, and then also what can we do to put together a great game plan against South Florida.
We're talking about South Florida. They're running back and a couple of 100-yard games and 150 the other night. What do you see with him? And it looks like their offensive line is a lot better than it was in last year.
Yeah, O-line is really good. I think probably this is the best O-line we've played this year out of the first 4 opponents. They're athletic, they can move, they get after it, they're aggressive. You mentioned him. I think he's number 21. Not a huge back, but very, very fast, quick. I think it was an All-American kick returner last year. Had 3 kickoff returns for touchdowns. They're dangerous in the return game. In between 21 and 5. 5 is another returner they have. I think maybe return 1 against BYU. But they're really, he's fast. He did a great job the other night. The running back did in that game. I think they rushed for over 250 yards against Florida. And the quarterback can run as well. I think he had over 100 yards rushing. And what they did against Florida, and I watched that game, and I believe in the first half, Florida only ran 20 snaps in the first half. USF kept the ball away from them, controlled the game, shortened the game for them, and I think at the end, Florida low 50s in snaps, so not many snaps at all. And so, I think when you play a team like that, it's limited possessions. You got to do something when you get the ball offensively, and that, therefore, again, you can't turn it over. You can't shoot yourself in the foot with the penalties. So you got to make those count, because what they do offensively is a game controlling type offense where they can run it.
Scott, heading into the Florida State game, you had some guys banged up, and in that game, you had several guys go down with injuries. What's the health of the team right now?
Yeah, we did. Tyon was a question mark. He ended up not playing. A couple of linemen were dinged up. Tyon's back this week. He was a game time decision and decided not to play him, but he's back this week, so should be full go. Trevor Reed went down, second drive. Hopefully he's back today. I think he'll be able to go to practice today. Caleb Chandler didn't play in the second half of the game. Hopefully he's back today as well. Just met with our trainer. So I think both of those guys are back. Wiggins, unfortunately, Wiggins is going to have surgery this week on his foot, on his toe, and so we'll probably miss the rest of the season. It's probably going to be a 4 to 5 month recovery on his injury, which is a shame. I feel like he was really getting ready to hit his stride. He's a fast receiver for us, big receiver. So now other guys are going to have to step up in that role for losing him. We were already a little bit thin there anyway. But I hate that for Wiggins. Great kid, great attitude, plays hard, so losing him. Trying to think anybody else that's back. I think everybody else is good to go. We had a couple guys get dinged and missed a few plays here or there. Yaya, Ashton, but they should be good to go as well.
Scott, just a few moments ago, you kind of mentioned you as coaches did some evaluations. Are there some things and takeaways that I guess you can share that I guess you kind of took away from those?
Well, we gotta be a more disciplined team. We talk about penalties. Penalties have really hurt us in the first 3 games, and turnovers. Our turnovers awful. The one win we had 1 turnover, and the 2 losses we've had 3 in each game. You can't do that. You can't do that and win. It's the teams are too good. You have to take care of the football end to end every drive and a kick, whether it be a punt or a field goal or an extra point, and that gives you a much better chance to win. As I look back on the Florida State game, they didn't turn any of those turnovers into points, but it took points away from us, and I think that obviously that was huge. I think more than anything, it's that. It's it's just being more disciplined with the penalties and the turnovers. Defensively, it's Giving up some big plays, but part of that is some missed tackling. We've seen that in the first 3 games. Did a lot better against Central Florida. We were not terrible in this past game in tackles, but a lot of the big plays in the run game were missed tackles, and it broke out for if you tackle them right there, it's a 2 to 3 yard gain. Instead, it's going for 20 or 15 or. So it's just knocking them down right there at the line of scrimmage. We just got to be better at that.
Yeah, 3 games in, I think you guys only have 1 touchdown pass. Is that a concern of yours, and what kind of things can you do to sort of improve the passing game?
Well, I thought we threw the ball pretty good the other night. I thought completion percentage was nice. Threw for whatever we threw. I don't know how many yards, 250, but obviously we'd like to get in the end zone throwing the ball. We just need to score. I don't care how we score, if it's running or throwing, it doesn't really matter to me. I think you would like to see some more touchdown passes, and the one thing that we haven't gotten is like the longer touchdown pass. The big play. That's what I'd like to see more of. I think when you get into red zone, I don't really care how we score. We just got to score. But some of the longer touchdown passes that we've had, would be nice to be able to get some of those dialed back up.
Scott, you kind of mentioned those self-inflicted wounds and how we're using the turnovers. So from looking at the film, what do you think is going into those? Is it preparation, just a mental error? What do you see?
Well, it just depends on which side of the ball. In the game Friday night, we had 2 special team penalties. Holding. A couple guys, both of them were kind of falling down, just kind of held on and grabbed. They get called for holding. Offensively, false starts. We had 4 of them the other night. 2 of them, the defense is shifting and moving, and as we're getting ready to snap the ball, our guys flinch. One of them was a freeze cadence where we don't have a play call and we're flinching. So that's just concentration. And then defensively, we had 4. You know, we had an offsides on a big drive there. We had 2 PIs, pass interference, where we're battling the guys. You know, I mean, you don't like those. Sometimes you're going to get that. It's tight coverage. You know, so yeah, we just got to be better at all those. I mean, I think, you know, to me, the false starts, we can't have that. I mean, we're controlling when we snap the ball, so we should know when to jump off or not to jump off. So, you know, really, so it's the pre-snap penalties that really bother me more than anything. The post-snap penalties, when you're playing hard, you're going to have some penalties. I mean, there's not any team that goes through that don't get any penalties. So, but it's the pre-snap penalties that are ones that really affect you. Being offsides, false starts, those type things. We got to get better at that.
Scott, kind of going off of that, I guess, how do you mention discipline being a big part of that? How do you correct that in practice and just kind of get guys to be a little more disciplined, a little more poised?
Yeah, I mean, we've tried. We're going to continue to do things. We've run after practice for anything that we do in practice penalty wise. We ran Sunday for the penalties we had in the game. You know, we talk about it, being disciplined, being focused, exactly what's going on. You know, so all you can do is continue to harp on it and hope we get better at it. You know, it's certainly something that we've talked about all summer. We talked about, you know, the turnovers. We talked about that all summer. We've got to take care of the football. You know, fumbles. I mean, just sloppy fumbles. You know, holding on to the ball exchange, those type things. And you know, so we'll continue to harp on them, and we'll continue to, you know, there'll be penalty, you know, for our guys. There'll be running and some extra activities they're going to have to do whenever that happens. And you know, that's all you can do is try to deter those actions.
The close losses are well documented, and of course, 2 weeks ago you won a close game. So I just wondered what you think as far as the team's mental approach in these games. Do you sense anything that you'd like to see better from that standpoint in approaching, you know, winning time, which is happening every game? There's that moment, I guess, or is it there? Is it just not happening?
Well, yeah, I mean, we had great opportunities Friday night. You know, really on both sides of the ball, offensively and defensively. And, you know, we lose contain 2 times in the game, and they end up scoring 2 touchdowns on the very next play. And, you know, so, you know, offensively, even after everything happened in the game, you know, we're driving the last drive there. We drop a pass on the sideline that could have went and scored. You go get that, everybody's happy, you know, and all this stuff doesn't even matter. You know, it's just, you have to make a play somewhere along the way, and there's so many of them that could have happened. I mean, I think about before we fumbled in the red zone, the play right before that, we had an opportunity to throw a touchdown pass, and we didn't throw it. And, you know, so it's just, there's certain plays we got to be able to make those plays, and you got to make one more than the other team. Florida State made one more than we did. And, you know, it was a very even game, and you come down to the fourth quarter, they held us to a field goal, they got a touchdown. There's the 4 points. You know, so it's basically just coming down to finding those plays and making them. You just never know when they're going to happen. That's why I say tell our players, every play matters. Every single play. You can't take a play off. You have to focus and you have to execute every single play. If you slip up on one play, that could be the difference in the game.
Scott, with D out, and that was a position where you weren't as deep as you wanted to be anyway. Who do you look to, and maybe any of those freshmen, are they getting close to ready?
Well, I think we'll probably, Amari will be more in where D was at and get a lot more time there at the Z receiver where Wiggins was playing. I think you know, Jalen Carter will probably end up stepping up in a more prominent role. Chris Bell is a guy we've really practiced hard as if he's going to play the last few weeks. Very close plans, so his role may increase more as a freshman in that capacity. You know, because you get in the game, it's like the other night, we ran a lot of plays. We had 47, I think, in the first half, and they're getting winded, those wide receivers, particularly when we're tempoing. I mean, we had one drive was a 14-play drive, and we're tempoing. They're getting tired. You've got to be able to sub those guys. You know, so, yeah, so I think we're going to have to, you know, play some more guys, but I think, you know, Chris Bell will be a guy, Carter will be a guy. They really hadn't played much that I think will get into the action now.
Any questions? Let's go to Hardy.
It's your turn.
Abby, our junior reporter, Abby.
Okay, ask him again.
You have pets.
Do I have pets? That's the best question I've had all day today, Abby. I do. I have 2 dogs, Lily and Maverick. What's your dog's names?
I have a bad cat.
Oh, what's your cat's name?
2 of them.
What are their names?
Molly and Scott.
Oh,
Marley and Scratch.
Marley and Scratch. All right. Good.
We'll bring her back next week too.
Absolutely. We'll give you a lot of questions if you want them. Thank y'all.